Hi guys, JP from FSiPanel. On that video, we are going to fly the latest airline flight of FSiPanel Advanced Edition. This is the Qantas 1007 from Melbourne to Hobart. We are currently boarding the passengers and we will be ready to depart very soon. I think we have a full load today, 161 passengers, as you can see right there. And we are going to use FSiPanel full ATC to fly that scenario. There is a challenging approach at Hobart. It's a RNP so we need authorization, and our airlines is authorized, obviously, as it is Qantas. So let's see how we can fly this. There will be chapter on that video, so if you want just to see a part, feel free to move ahead and move directly to the approach or to the descent phase, wherever you want to go. All right, before I forget, please subscribe to the channel. That will help me a lot growing the channel and making more video for you. All right, so let's jump in the cockpit and start our training scenario. All right, so here we are in the cockpit of 4737-800. Boarding is almost completed, and I have used FSiPanel already to configure the aircraft. So as we are flying on the PMDG 737, everything is done for us. We have the cockpit fully prepared, and basically we just have to request startup. However, we are going to check the routing. This is something that you already have to do. Make sure that you check what FSiPanel has done. Sometimes the scenario is prepared, let's say with the ERAC 2309, which is the case for that particular scenario, and you are flying it a couple of weeks or months later, and the routing is not the same in the FMC. So make sure you check that. So I will show you the lesson plan, and we are just going to check the routing, and then we'll do our takeoff performance, and off we go. We will start our flight to Hobart. All right, so this is our training scenario today, our airline flight, Melbourne to Hobart. So I positioned the aircraft in Melbourne. We are going to use runway 27. We will check the ATC in a minute. We are in the park at stand Charlie 6, and this is the weather preset that I have already loaded. If you don't know how to import a training scenario in FSiPanel, you can see in the description down below the procedures. There is a video showing you how to import and fly training scenario on the PMDG 737. So what is interesting there is to check here the routing. You can see that our routing is very straightforward. We have a Sun T3 departure, then Hotel 169 to Earzum, and then Victor 33 to Morgo, and then we have a star arrival into Hobart. The weather, as you can see, is quite windy, not that bad, 27014, this is on the runway axis, with a low cloud ceiling, scattered at 600 feet, scattered 8,000 feet, 23 degrees and 1008, and we have about the same weather in Hobart, with low clouds on the AirNav approach, so that's going to be quite interesting. So we have done all this. Then once you come to this position here on the lesson plan, you can see where you're supposed to be parked and what will be your taxi instructions. And then if you feel like you can fly the scenario without looking at the rest of the tips, just go ahead and start flying. However, you have to be very precise if you want to complete the scenario correctly. All right, so we are just going to check our routing and see if everything has been set properly by FSiPanel. Okay, so let's have a look here what FSiPanel has set. If we go to position, routing, we can see that we have the origin Melbourne destination. We have the flight plan here, the ATC ident. If we go to the route page, next page, we can see that we have the Sun T3 departure as expected, and then the routing is correct. Hotel 169 to Earzum, Victor 33 to Morgo, and then we're going to have the arrival, which is the Morgo to Victor arrival for the runway 30 AirNav approach. So this we will check as well in cruise and maybe update it if required. We have the correct zero fuel weight. You can see that as well on the flight plan. So we have 58.5. Let's have a look if that's correct. So if I go on the PMDG tablet, let's see if I can import the OFB. And if I want to check now the routing, electronic flag bag, and here we have our routing. You can see the zero fuel weight is exactly 58.5, and we should have a fuel of around 7.4. So let's see how much FSiPanel has loaded for us. 7.6, that's perfect, so we have enough fuel. So basically this will be imported automatically if you use the button. This is as well described in the video about importing training scenario into FSiPanel, so you can rely on this as well. All right, so the routing is correct. The performance, we need to check the performance that FSiPanel has inserted. So the reserve is correct, 3.8. We have the cost index. Cruising altitude is 330. All this is checked. And what we want to make sure is that our takeoff performance are correct. So let's do that now. We go to the performance tool. And here, something very important. The weather, if you use the import weather, like now, you will have the actual live weather at Hobart and not the preset that FSiPanel is using for that scenario. So make sure you don't use that or your performance might be way off. Here we are in Melbourne, runway 27. This is all correct. Now the takeoff flaps, I will use flaps 5. This is what we have in the FMC right now set by FSiPanel. If you want to take off with another flap setting, feel free to do it and update your FMC. Rating, we are going to try optimum. Our TIAS is not required today. It's 23 degrees. We will depart with the packs on. The aircraft weight is correct. And the CG, we can have a look right there. What is my CG? 25.5. So let's put here 25.5. Great. Now the wind, as per the lesson plan, is 270 at 14. We have a temperature of 23 degrees and the QNH is 1008. If I calculate this speed, what do we have as a problem right now? Let's see. 66.1 for takeoff. That's it. So the problem was the figures here was not correct the way it was entered, so I just put 66.1, which is my actual gross weight, as you can see. And now I'm getting here takeoff 2, assume temperature 30. So if we check FSiPanel, we have takeoff 2, assume 30. And the speed should be 141, 141, 146. And the speeds are 140, okay, 141, 146. We check that we have 146 right there as well. So everything is correct. So this is what you should check before starting any flight that you import with FSiPanel, just to make sure that your first officer, in that case myself, has done the job correctly. And if your weather file is not correct, let's say here I would have real weather or I would have not the correct preset, then my temperature might differ, my QNH altimeter setting might be different, and then what you will see right there in the N1 limit might be completely off. So this is as well why it's very important to check your performance before you go and fly. All right, so this is done. We are fully ready. We are going to do the pre-flight checklist, and then we are ready to call ATC to request our clearance. All right, so let's have a look at the ATIS. Let's listen a little bit to the ATIS. The ATIS is always available in FSiPanel Advanced Edition under 123.45, only on COM2, and this is valid for departure ATIS. Once you get airborne, you will get the arrival ATIS, and should you have a training scenario with a diversion, then as soon as you divert, you will have the diversion airfield ATIS. So if I turn it on, we can listen to it.
Melbourne Information Sierra.
Let's see what kind of runway we have for departure, just to make sure everything is good.
This is Melbourne Information Sierra. Departure runway 34 and 27. Arrival runway 27. ILS approach. Surface wind 270. 14 knots. Visibility 10 kilometers or more. Cloud scattered 600 feet. Scattered 9,000 feet. Temperature 23. Dew point 16. QNH1008. Transition level flight level 110. Showers in the vicinity. Acknowledge. Received Melbourne Information Sierra.
All right, so we have Sierra. I'm just gonna check here the transition altitude, transition level 110, and by the chart it's 10,000 feet for the transition altitude, so that's all good. And we're expecting either runway 27 or runway 34, I think, as we are parked at the Charlie 6, we should get runway 27, which is easier for us. So boarding is almost completed, and I'm going to ask the clearance already. So let's have a look at the chart for the correct frequency to make sure that we have the right frequency there. So let's see that. Okay, so Melbourne, here we are. So the ground frequency 1217, and delivery for us, this is what we are looking at, is 1272. 1272, and then probably ground 1217. So let's see what we have here. 1272, 1217 is already pre-selected. We are Charlie 6. Boarding is almost completed, so let's request our clearance. So for that, I'm going to use the push to talk, and I will request clearance, and FSiPanel should give us the clearance at least. We hope so. Let's go ahead. Delivery, very good morning. This is Qantas 1007. We are stand Charlie 6, ready to pick up IFR clearance to Hobart. Information Sierra, it's a Boeing 738.
Qantas 1007, hello, cleared to Hobart, as filed. Climb via SID initially 5,000 feet. Santi 3 departure, runway 27, scope 3770 and departure frequency 129.4.
Roger, thank you. We are clear to Hobart as filed. Climb via SID 5,000 feet, runway 27, Santi 3 departure. Transponder 3770 and departure frequency will be 129.4 for Qantas 1007.
Readback is correct. Call me back ready for push.
Roger, we'll call you back ready for push, Qantas 1007. All right, so always read back your clearance, otherwise the scenario might hang. This is something very important as well. So let's put the score 3770, 3770. Here we go, and let's do our pre-flight checklist to make sure everything is ready. So pre-flight checklist, oxygen was set at 100%, navigation, transfer and display switch. So this is on the overhead panel. So here they are. We check that it is normal, that the source is automatic, and that the control panel is on normal. This is the navigation and transfer display switch. Then we have Windows Heat on right there. Pressurization mode selector, we make sure that it is on automatic. This is very important because if it's on manual, as you can see, we still have no real amber indication. It's manual in green, and that might lead to the pressurization, or not the pressurization, but something where your cabin altitude exceed the 10,000 feet, and then you get the warning. So make sure you check it's on automatic. Then flight instrument, heading and altimeter. So for that, we are going to check that the heading right there is the same on first officer and captain side. So I read 070, 070, and the compass is around 070. That's fine. And that's the heading. And the altimeter, we have the QNH of 1008, 1008. The standby is 1008, and I'm reading 410 and 410. Everything looks good. The airport elevation right there is 434, so it's within tolerance. We are all good. Then the next thing we want to check is the parking brake. So now as we are getting ready, the parking brake is set and the engine start lever are cut off. So pre-flight checklist completed. All right, quick briefing for this departure. Let's have a look here on the charts. We are right now at the position Charlie 6, so I guess I can see it from there in a better way. Yeah. So we are Charlie 6 right there, so I'm expecting to push back facing north. By the way, can we turn that shot on the PMDG 737? I'm not sure, so let's brief like this. We are Charlie 6. We expect to push back probably facing north, and then we taxi to the runway, which is right in front of us. So if I go back to the airport chart, we are using 27. We have been cleared, so we expect to taxi via Papa or Quebec to the holding point runway 27. So an easy taxi. Then it's gonna be a left-hand seat takeoff. Any malfunctions below V1, I will call stop or continue. If my call is stop, I will immediately and simultaneously disconnect the auto throttle, close the thrust lever, extend the speed brake, and apply manual reversers. Then we check that we maintain the runway center line, and we use manual braking if required, bearing in mind the wind direction. So the wind is in front of us, so we can just stop on the runway center line. Once the aircraft comes to a complete stop, I will set the parking brake, and I will call attention crew at station. Then we analyze the situation together. If we need to evacuate the aircraft, we will read the emergency evacuation checklist together. and you read it and I do the actions. If we can continue the flight, or at least there is no emergency, I will call cabin crew and passenger remain seated, and then we will taxi the airplane safely to the gates, make sure that our brakes are not too hot. Should we continue the takeoff, no actions below 400 feet, except positive rate, bring the gear up. Please cancel any warning or any lights, so we have a clear cockpit, and we do no actions below 400 feet, except gear up. 400 feet, we select a hold mode. In that case, we can go heading, so we will continue on the runway heading. Identify the failure, start the APU, and inform ATC. Here we have no obstacle in front of us on the departure, so we will maintain runway heading. Climb to 5,000 feet, advise ATC, and the weather is good to come back for the ILS 27 Cat 1 via ATC, probably vectors. As for the departure, we are flying today the Sun T3, so let's have a quick look at that. It's an AirNav departure, runway 27. So what does it say? Jets only, that's fine. Departure frequency 12904 has been confirmed already by the delivery, so that's good. And what does it say here? Runway 27, track 263, so that's the runway heading to Hopla, which is in front of us. Cross Hopla at or above 4,000 feet. Then turn left, track 201 to Darley. Then turn left, track 138 to Sunti as cleared. So if we check our FMC, we have Hopla 4,000 or above, left turn to Darley, and then Sunti. So everything looks correct. Any question for the briefing? No, thank you. All right, good. So now we are getting fully ready, and passengers boarding is completed. Yes. So let's prepare for departure. I will tell GS6 to prepare the aircraft for now, pushback and departure. And we are going to tell the ground as soon as everything is connected that we are ready for pushback. That's as well one thing you don't want to do. You don't want to call for pushback too early when you still have the pushback. And once if you are not connected, because normally you're supposed to start your push within a minute after you call the ATC. So that's something to know as well. All right, so I see that everything is getting ready. Let's do the before start checklist. So before we do that, we do the actions. So we're gonna pressurize the fuel. Then the next thing you want to do, make sure your seatbelt sign is on. Then you want to pressurize hydraulic and turn the beacon lights on, and we wait for the transponder. Now if we check here on the system page, what we want to see is 3000 psi, 2900 to 3100 psi on the hydraulic A and B. So that's good today. We are good to go. So I will go to engine now for the engine start, and we are getting ready for departure. So I'm going to tell the ATC. And delivery, this is Qantas 1007. We are ready for pushback.
Qantas 1007, rudder, hold position and contact ground 121.7. Wish you a nice flight.
Roger, hold position and 1217, Qantas 1007. Bye-bye. Okay, hold position 121007. Ground, hello, Qantas 1007, Charlie 6, ready, push and start.
Qantas 1007 ground. Hello, expect pushback clearance in around 1 minute.
Roger, standing by, Qantas 1007. Okay, so in the meantime, let's do the before start checklist. So we have flight deck door closed and locked. Fuel, we have 4 pumps on, and the fuel is 76 tons as requested. Passenger signs on, windows locked. MCP V2 is 146 heading 263 and 5,000 feet initial altitude set. Then the takeoff speed, we have V1 140, V-rotate 141, V2 146, 146 is set, and the auto throttle is armed. CDO pre-flight is completed. Rudder and aileron trim 3 and 0. Taxi and takeoff briefing completed, and we have the anti-collision light on. That's the end of the before start checklist. Let's standing by for the ATC to call us now. The only thing we'll have to do is turn on the transponder.
Qantas 1007, push and start approved, facing north.
Push and start approved, facing north, Qantas 1007. All right, push and start is approved facing north, so transponder to altitude reporting off. We are ready for pushback, so let's go ahead and call GS6. Continue pushback. And we need to on taxiway Papa facing north, that's what we want.
Release parking brakes, please.
And parking brake is released.
Commencing push. All engines clear. Start at will.
All right, here we push. Let's start the engine then. Have a quick look there, how it looks. Very nice. Okay, engine start. So we need to turn off the packs 1 and 2. So we have enough air to start the engines. Then we are going to start 2 and 1 in sequence. So start engine number 2. Ground. Now what we are going to check here is the acceleration of N2. Then N1 will start to increase. At 25% N2, we bring the fuel on. There we go, fuel on. Then you will see fuel flow. Now we check a light up. We will check the oil pressure. As soon as it's 13, the light will go off here. The oil pressure is going off.
Parking brakes.
Parking brake is set.
Waiting your confirmation for a good engine start.
And now we are waiting for 56% N2. And the first officer will check that the switch goes to auto. Here we go, 56% auto, and we check that the start valve is closed and we call it starter cutout. That's a normal start when you don't have the red line there on the EGT. So you will see that once we start number 1. Okay, ground, we are starting number 1. So number 1, ground. You see that red light is telling you that the FedEx is still in the start sequence. So this is when you call a normal start, when this red light goes away. So 25%, now fuel on, check fuel flow. Once you have a fuel flow and ignition, we should have a light up. We continue to monitor N1 rotation, N2 rotation, and oil pressure increasing, 13 or above. Oil pressure is gone, 56% N1, the switch goes off to automatic, and we should have this start valve light off. So this is what the first officer is looking. So let's see 56%. Click, switch, and starter cutout, and the captain is waiting for the light, and then you can call normal start. All right, here we are, normal starts. Then the first officer can go ahead and do the after start flow. But before that, I will just call the ground to tell them GS6 confirm good engine start. You can disconnect.
We have a good engine start. Please disconnect.
Unlocking gear.
Perfect. All right, so engine started. First officer will put then the generator on the bus. Then he will take care. Let me show you the overhead panel. It's easier. So the first thing to do, generator on the bus. Then we are going to put the probit on. On some aircraft you have off and on. On this one it's auto and on. So even if it's on automatic, it will turn on automatically, but it's a good habit to turn it on, especially if you have airlines with different fleet. Good, so we do this, we come to the air, so we want to make sure that we give air to the passengers. So we're gonna put the 2 packs on. The isolation valve can go to automatic now. We don't need the APU air anymore, so I can turn off the APU. Now we want to make sure that we have the 2 engine start to continuous. And another thing, we click on the recall, and if we didn't forget anything, we should have no lights there. So that means everything is good. Now we check the engine parameter. All good. And we can turn off the lower DU. Good. Now we will go for the takeoff flaps, so let's go for flaps 5. Flaps 5, we wait for the flaps 5 and then we'll check the flight control. I have received the clear signal, perfect. So this is the leading edge and this is the trailing edge. So right now it means that my slats have extended and this is my trailing edge now that are flaps 5. So we call flaps 5 set, green light, and now we can go ahead and do the flight control check. So on some 737 you will have the indication here on the control. On some you don't have anything. So here on that one we have it, so let's use it. So flight control checked, full down, full up, neutral, left, neutral, right, neutral, and the rudder, full left, full right, flight control checked. Perfect. Now we can go ahead with the checklist, which is the before taxi checklist. So generators are on, then the probe beats are on, anti-ice are not required, isolation valve is auto, engine start switches continuous, recall was check, auto brake, RTO, engine start lever, there are idle detent, flight control checked, and ground equipment was clear left and clear right. Before taxi checklist completed. Alright, so let's go, let's call for taxi. Qantas 1007 ready for taxi.
Qantas 1007, taxi orbiting point 27 via Papa, Echo and Quebec.
Taxi 27 via Papa, Echo and Quebec. Qantas 1007. Alright, so let's see that, what did he say? Papa, Echo, Quebec. So, airports and airport information. So we are Papa. So straight ahead Papa, then we're gonna have to take the second right, not Tango but right on Echo, and then Quebec right there for the holding point 27. Perfect. Alright, so taxi light on. Let's go. Alright, cabin secure. Let's go. Let's do the before takeoff checklist, please. So before takeoff checklist, we have the flaps 5 green light and stabilizer trim. We are supposed to get 5.1 and I have 5.1 before takeoff checklist completed. Perfect. So we are ready for departure. So first run right there, this is Tango. We don't want to take Tango, we want to take the second right. So if we have a look from there, this is Tango right there, and that will be Echo, and that will be Quebec. So this is where we are going now. We have the confirmation that this is Echo. So let's continue here on Papa, then second right will be Echo. This is Tango on my right here. Right turn here on taxiway Echo.
Qantas 1007, contact tower 120.5. Have a nice flight.
120.5 Qantas 1007. Bye bye, thank you. 120.5. All right, so let's concentrate on the taxi first, and then I will call the tower when we are ready. We can see here. You should have the holding point right there. Yeah, all good. So 120.5 is active. And as I have already the departure frequency, I will set it. This is all the time you can save later on. So let's do that. So departure frequency, I've wrote down 129.4. So if you have as well the auto tune enabled in FSiPanel, you don't need to worry about switching the frequency. Once you read back, the frequency will be changed within 2 or 3 seconds. So I have it enabled, but here as a normal behavior, what I will do is just select the departure frequency. Okay, let's call the tower. Tower, very good morning. This is Qantas 1007. We are holding short 27, ready.
Qantas 1007 Tower, hello. Runway 27, line up and wait.
27, line up and wait. Qantas 1007. Okay, so runway 27 identified. Left side is clear, right side is clear. So let's line up the runway. So we'll switch the retractable lights. We are going to switch the position light. We are going to turn on the transponder, and we tell the cabin crew, take your seat for takeoff. Now we can line up the runway. Another thing you want to do is make sure that you take either terrain or weather. So as I'm the pilot flying, I will select terrain, as we know weather is not working yet. And here we go, line up the runway. When you line up the runway, another good thing to check is that you have the auto throttle arm. Eventually that your LNAV, VNAV arm, depending on your policy, what you're going to do with that. But make sure you have the auto throttle arm. Sometimes we can forget that. And make sure as well that your routing here looks correct. You are lining up on the correct runway. Check the fuel as well. Minimum departing fuel is 7.2.
Qantas 1007, wind 290 at 14 knots, runway 27, you are clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff 27, Qantas 1007. Okay, we have been clear for takeoff, so I'll switch now the fixed light, and we will turn the timer on, and that's it. We are ready for departure. Everything is checked and the heading is checked, ready to go. So we are advancing the thrust to around 40% N1. Check that everything looks correct, and then we hit the toggle button. All good, stable, N1 toga, set takeoff thrust. Thrust checked. Checked. Throttle hold. Rotate. Let's go.
Positive rate of climb.
Gear up and LNAV. .400 feet, VNAV speed. So now the aircraft is flying V2 plus 20 up to 1,500 feet, and then we will get the acceleration. N1. Let's put command A, and we have
Qantas
N1 LNAV enough speed.
1007, contact Melbourne departures 129.4. Bye bye.
129.4 Qantas 1007. Bye bye. 129.4. Here we go. Speed check flaps 1. Departure hello, Qantas 1007, 2,800, climbing 5,000 feet.
Qantas 1007, identified, climb flight level 120.
Climb level 120, Qantas 1007. 120, speed check, flaps up. Nice departure, flaps moving up. Perfect. Flaps up, no light. So now what we are going to do, the after takeoff items. So what?
Qantas 1007, turn left heading 130.
Left heading 130, Qantas 1007. So heading cell 130, set, and we check heading cell right there. Everything looks good. So after takeoff checklist, we turn off the retractable lights. Taxi light. If we are not in icing condition, we can turn off the ignitions. The engine starts to automatic. Then we will turn the auto brake to off, and we will put the landing gear level to off to release the hydraulic pressure as we have the up locks in place. Perfect. After takeoff checklist completed, turning left heading 130. Our next item will be 10,000 feet. This is the transition altitude as well, so we have to go standard at 10,000 feet. And the next thing is as well release the passengers. So let's continue for now on the heading as requested by ATC. Good rate of climb. So once you approach your clearance, your cleared altitude, make sure you reduce your rate of climb should you have traffic, or if you are in the busy airspace, you may avoid a TCAS array. So that's very important as well. 10,000 feet, the aircraft will accelerate, and therefore the nose will drop a little bit. So
Qantas
that's good for us.
1007, continue climb, flight level 180.
Continue climb level 180, Qantas 1007. 180 set. Now you can see the reminder. We passed 10,000 feet. The aircraft accelerated to climb speed. So we are going to go standard, and standard is on the first officer. This guy is standard. Everybody standard. That's fine. We can turn off the lights. What we do as well, we turn off the seatbelt sign to automatic if possible, and we check that we have 1215 on COM2, and we check as well that the aircraft is pressurizing correctly. So what you should see here is a rate of climb as the pressurization is working properly, and you can see that the cabin altitude is increasing slowly, and that's the PSI. So everything looks good. We can continue. Climbing to flight level 180. The speed that we are flying right now, you can see it in the climb page, 290 knots, and the transition will be 747. That's a beautiful number. So whenever 747 is the actual Mach number, then the window, the aircraft will fly now in Mach speed, in Mach mode. Right now we are in indicated airspeed. So if I go level change, my window open, and I'm in indicated airspeed. I can change it manually, but it makes no sense. That will change whenever we pass 747. So let's go back into VNAV, blank window, and you can see 290, and we will monitor passing 747 that we have the transition to Mach mode. All right, so what is ATC doing here? We are flying toward Sunti, so maybe we resume navigation to Sunti. I don't know. Let's see that.
Qantas 1007, climb flight level 240 and proceeded direct Sunti.
Climb level 240 and direct Sunti, Qantas 1007. All right, 240 set, and now we go direct to Sunti. So Sunti on top, execute, and nav is captured, and don't forget your heading bug on the 737. So we are going to Sunti now. Perfect. As for the course, that depends clearly on your airline. Some airline will ask you to always set the course of the airway. So right now, as we are on Sunti on the track which is 147, you may set here 147. This is completely SOPs. It's nowhere written in the FCOM that you have to do it for the 737, sorry. But it's a good practice to always have a track there. So in case you lose something, you see this is what I'm supposed to fly. Anyway, if you synchronize your heading, you will have as well the correct track to maintain. So that's completely up to you. My habit is to set it when I have a long way on the airway, so I will always have my course in front of me there. And sometimes you're flying routes, airways based on VOR. So even though we fly with LNAV, it's a good idea to have the correct VOR and the correct course, so you have a backup. All right, climbing toward flight level 200, pressurization is still good. Let's have a quick look outside. Very nice. So our flight plan, I think we are going to fly level 330. Cruising level is at 330. Perfect. And what is the next point I have in front of me now is Sunti. So let's have a quick look at Sunti in the flight plan here. Okay, Sunti. This is here, sorry, that's the Sunti point. And we can just have a look at the estimated fuel on board. We should have a minimum of 6.6, 6.4. So we have to look at that carefully on the next one. 240. Perfect. Another thing you can do is check your fuel here on the arrival fuel. So right now we're expecting to reach destination with 4.8.
Qantas 1007, maintain flight level 240 and contact Melbourne Center. Frequency 135.3. Wish you a nice flight.
Roger, maintain flight level 240 and center 134.3, Qantas 1007. So now if I wait 2 or 3 seconds, I have the frequency and I can switch it on. Melbourne Center, hello, Qantas 1007, reaching flight level 240.
Qantas 1007, Melbourne Center, hello, maintain flight level 240, opposite traffic, expect higher traffic.
Roger, maintain flight level 240, traffic on the TCAS, Qantas 1007. So I reduced my rate of climb, now vertical speed, as we have a traffic. It was a TCAS advisory, and the traffic is supposed to be now on our left wings, 11 o'clock. It's there. We can see the traffic, so perfect. All right. So 240 to maintain. So what I was telling you is you can see your arrival fuel, 4.8. And if you go here to the flight plan and you look at this figure right there, which is final reserve plus alternate 3.762. So you should never see something lower than these figures. Otherwise, it means once you reach that airport, you don't have enough fuel to divert to, in that case, Melbourne, and the 30 minutes mandatory fuel. So this number here is the final reserve, which is half an hour. You can see it here, 1067, and the alternate fuel Melbourne, 2695. So if you had these two numbers, you get to that number. So this is the minimum fuel you want to have.
007, climb flight level 330, that will be your final level today.
Roger, climb level 330, Qantas 1007. 330, VNAV, N1, VNAV speed, thrust coming to the climb, and we have VNAV speed, we are climbing, perfect. All good, so now we are going to climb to our cruising level, flight level 330. The flight is around 1 hour, a little bit less than 1 hour, so probably that once we are in cruise, we'll move forward the video so you don't have to follow the whole cruise altitude. That will be nice when we do live videos, so I plan to start live streams where we can fly together the training scenario and you can ask your question in real time, and then we can do it this way. But here what we'll do is I will basically pause the video and we will see each other just before the top of descent for the briefing and for the arrival into Hobart, where we have to do a very precise RNP AR approach. All right, so let's pause the video now and I'll see you just at the top of descent. All right, move a little bit forward here. We are approaching position AVNAS, so we can have a fuel check right there. So let's see AVNAS. We should have on board 5.3, and the FMCs says right now that we are going with 5.6, so that's perfect. It means now we are good on fuel, so no issue with that. That's good for us. So AVNAS right there, perfect. And let's continue here. We are good here. And about, I would say, halfway. This is our destinations, still over the sea.
Qantas 1007, we have a military activity reported in your area, so turn right to 1 yard NBB. This is Whiskey Yankee Yankee, and expect a new routine later on to Earzon.
Roger, turning right to Whiskey Yankee Yankee and expect routing via Earzon, Qantas 1007. Okay, Whiskey Yankee Yankee, so let's put that here, legs on top. Whiskey Yankee Yankee, that's to the right. Where is that thing? That's here. Alright, so we probably have this kind of routing. So let's turn first the aircraft as we have military activity, so make sure you select that. So we are turning toward Whiskey Yankee Yankee. The distance is correct. That's as well very important to check your distance. You might have a Whiskey Yankee Yankee in Europe at 7,000 miles from here, and you might be completely wrong. So always check your distance. That looks good. And I am turning my heading bug right there. And now it's a good thing to update your FMC. Why? Because now the FMC will not be able to compute any correct value for top of descent. It doesn't know if you're flying back then later on to AVNAS. So the good thing to do is, he said, expect routing later on via Earzon. So if I look now at my chart, Earzon is right there. We are going here. So I will just connect these 2 points and I'm ready to update, if required, the flight plan. So what I'll do is I will take the position Earzon and I will put it right after Whiskey Yankee Yankee. Execute, and right now if I go to prox page, I have a top of descent in 92 miles. My arriving fuel is correct, 4.8, so no issues there. So now we have a new routing which is a little bit longer. So the fuel is still okay, 4.8. We said we need about 3.8, so we are still very good on fuel. Perfect. So now we are flying toward Whiskey Yankee Yankee and we see what happens next. So we will prepare the arrival as soon as we know what kind of star we get. For sure we are going to do the RNP. So let's listen to the ATIS. Maybe we should get it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
In the vicinity.
Qantas 1007, contact Melbourne Center, frequency 126.5, expect start clearance. Bye-bye.
1265 Qantas 1007, bye-bye. 1265, so that will be an auto-tuning for me normally, yes. And this is Melbourne Center. Melbourne Center, hello, Qantas 1007, maintaining 330 to Whiskey Yankee Yankee.
Qantas 1007, Melbourne Center, hello. You are identified, route Whiskey Yankee Yankee, and then Earzon.
Roger, Whiskey Yankee Yankee, and then Earzon, Qantas 1007. So we are good with the routing we inserted. That's perfect. No need to change anything. And we were about to listen to the ATIS at the destination.
This is Hobart Information November. Runway in use 30. Expect RNP approach. Surface wind 280. 18 knots, visibility 8 kilometers, cloud scattered 700 feet, scattered 8,000 feet, temperature 23, dew point 16, QNH 1008, transition level flight level 110, showers in the vicinity, acknowledge received Hobart Information November.
Perfect. All right, so we have the ATIS received transition level 110. So we go descent forecast, make sure you have 110 right there. And now we can start to prepare the approach. So what I'll do here, I will just make sure that I have the correct approach selected. So the RNP Whiskey 30, it's selected there. Let's have a look at the chart. What we have here into the arrivals. So the approach is RNP Whiskey runway 30 ER. So let's bring that in full screen and let's have a look at that. So this is what we expect to fly today. AR mean authorization required. So you need to have training and the airlines needs to be authorized. Obviously Qantas is authorized as they are flying there. So we will assume that we are as well authorized. Important there, we'll check the ATC. We have the Hobart approach that we will probably contact later on. The tower is not an official ATC. So they will not issue a landing clearance or a takeoff clearance. They will just tell you that the runway is clear and they will give you weather information basically. So this is something to keep in mind. We have a ground frequency 1217. On this area, we have terrain. The highest part is west of the airfield, 5,600 feet. We have 4,200 feet northwest and to 3,900 feet at position Bavu where we start our approach. Then from Bavu, which is the initial approach fix, we should be at 3,700 feet. We will fly to Hotel Bravo 510, maximum speed 175 knots. And then we have this arc with a 3 degrees descent, passing Hotel Bravo 520 at 860 feet down to the runway with a minimum of either 370 or 600. So in order to check that, what you need to have is the FCOM chart. So here with that weight, 2 engines running, I'll tell you, you can go ahead with that minimum. So this is something we don't have right now in the simulator, but you can go with that minimum. So let's have a look at our FMC, and program it together. So we should have the position Bavu, 185 knots. This is from the star. We will check in a minute. We have 3,700 feet. So that's correct. Then we go to Hotel Bravo 510, maximum speed 175. Hotel Bravo 510, 175. 2510, that's the expected altitude as it's a computation from the FMC. And then we are going to the RF 0045, that's the basically the arc turn to the runway. Runway 63 feet, 3 degrees descent. So we have the 3 degrees descent. And we're going to have the runway threshold, which is 50 feet plus 13, 63. We see 63, and we check as well the 3 degrees descent. So the FMC is correct for the navigation. Now, if we have a look at the star, so let me show you the star. This is the star that we are flying probably if we are clear to the RNP 30. So we expect the Morgo 2V Victor, which is for runway 30. So we fly Morgo to Poxid. So let's check that. Morgo to Poxid. Poxid, we have flight level 130 or below. 130 or below. The number is below the line. You should be below it. If the number is above the line, take the number as your aircraft. The aircraft is above the line. You should be above 130. Here the number is below the line, so you should be 130 or below at position Poxid. Then we go to Guleb, maximum speed 280 knots. Maximum speed 280 knots. Sometimes when you insert a star in the PMDG 737, you will see 280 only here. And then you will get enable speed 280 at position Guleb. Just change it with 280B/. Put it there, and then he knows you want 280 or below. And as we are complaining, it's okay.
Qantas 1007, fly direct Yazam.
Direct to Earzom, Qantas 1007. Thank you. Direct to Earzom, so Earzom on top. Execute, LNAV, and we follow with the Edinburgh. Alright, so we were checking the routing, so Guleb is okay, then Sorvi Limdu. So we have Sorvi Limdu. Limdu, we have 230 knots and 5,500. 230, 5,500 or above. And this is above, yeah, that's correct. And then we go finally to Bavur. Maximum speed 185 knots. And this is what we have checked before, 3,700 and 185 knots. So we are correct with our FMC. So let's have a look at the landing performance now. Top of descent is coming very soon, so we are going to check our landing performance. Let's go flaps 30. speed 147, and we are landing with, so what you do is the difference between the actual fuel and the expected fuel, so that's around 500 kilos. So if you want to be precise, some airline will tell you to enter 63.3 there. Myself, I prefer to be safe side, so I will just leave it like this. The difference is probably 1 knot. So if you, let's say now put 63.3 here, then you can see I have 146 instead of 147. The danger here is if you do a mathematical mistake there and you have a completely off speed. So I will just leave it like this. Add the correct number when I do that calculation. So 63.3, let's do the performance calculation. So for that we need to go into the performance tool and we need to go for the landing and route. And we are going to land on runway 30. The weight we set 63.3. Flaps 30, packs on, anti-ice off, reverser, no credit. Let's say if we take auto brake 1, or yeah, auto brake 1, let's see. No normal condition, we don't have anything, and we will leave VRF plus 5. The wind, what did I write here? 280 at 18 knots. OAT is 23 and the QNH is 1008. Okay, this we cannot go, so let's go to brake 2. Auto brake 2 works perfect, and we should have a VRF of 151. So we'll go to brake 2, 151, which is 146 plus 5. 151, that's correct. Alright, so the minimum is set.
Traffic.
We checked our landing performance. We have a traffic right there. Where is it? Below us. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay. Alright, so this is done. Now the MCDU, the FMC setup. Sorry if I mix the Airbus with the 737 sometimes, as I fly both. So let's do the FMC together. So we checked that we have the correct routing. What you want to do now is in the position page. If you go to position page 3, we have a nav status right there. You go to next page, and here you have the nav options. We are doing an RNP approach, so we want to make sure that the FMC gets update only from the GPS. So we will turn off the DME update, VOR update, and localizer updates. By doing this, we force the FMC to get only GPS coordinate to compute its performance. You can see here the required performance right now on the airway with the actual performance computed, which is 0.06 nautical miles. Very good. So by doing this, you avoid a wrong DME or a wrong VOR to kick in and screw the approach. So that's what we want to do. Another thing you want to do, you want to go to progs page 4, and there you can see the RNP requirements. So for this approach, if we have a look at this approach, what is the RNP requirements on this approach? If it's not stated, the RNP requirements is 0.3 at least on an RNP approach. Sometimes you might have RNP approach with a requirement of 0.15. So this is only acceptable if you are qualified, of course, for this. But here we see that the FMC will automatically turn the RNP requirement to 0.3 for the approach, and we have a vertical RNP of 400 feet. So what we set usually is 125 as the vertical RNP.
Qantas 1007, when ready, descend flight level 190 and you are cleared. Morgo to Victor arrival. Expect RNP Whiskey runway 30.
Roger, descend 190, cleared, Morgo to Victor arrival, and the RNP Whiskey 30 to be expected for Qantas 1007. Okay, so now we can descend. You can see that I'm 800 feet higher than the profile, so VNAV will not start descending. So what I need to do is push level change. Now the aircraft has reduced the speed because she saw that we were way too high. Not way too high, but we were high. So what I'll do, I increase my speed, and I'm looking now to a recovery here on my profile. So you can see that we are getting back to the profile. That looks good. The descent speed right now that we're expecting is 252 knots during descent. Once you are within 400 feet, we are here within this tolerance, and I can click VNAV, and I will check VNAV path. Now I have my 252, and now the aircraft is about to fly the correct profile. So that's something you need to do if ATC, like in our case now, give you a late descent. So recover your descent, go back to VNAV, check VNAV path, and you are fine. So we'll see how PMDG can fly this approach, and we'll see that. Okay, so I was talking about this prog page 4, so put 125 right there, and we will check later on that we have 0.3. Very important. We have the auto brake too. Everything is set for the approach. We just need to check our minimums. So here the minimum, we said we are going to take this one here, so 370. So we are going to check the minimum, Barrow 370. All right, here we go. Don't forget we have passengers, so we started our descent. Seatbelt sign is on, and now what we will do, we will go ahead and do the descent checklist. So pressurization landing altitude is set at 50 feet. The airport is 13 feet, we saw, so that's fine. Then recall checked. Auto brake is 2. Landing data, we have VREF 146, minimum is 370 Barrow, and the approach briefing is completed. Descent checklist complete. Perfect. Nav setting. So here it's a air nav approach, RNP approach. If we look there on the airfield, we have nothing basically. Even if I look at the approach ILS here, we have an ILS, but there is no reason to tune it, as the wind will not let us land there with that wind. So we don't need a nav setting here. What we will do, however, is to make sure we set the course 300, which is our final course right there. So I will set that as the course on my window right there. Even though I'm not going to use it, it's nice to have it as a reference. So if we look at the final track, here's about 300, 299. So I'm just going to set 300 right here on the course. 300. Perfect. So we are descending nicely, and I will explain later on what are those 2 dots. When we get closer to these dots, you will see what it is all about. For now, we are just descending. What you can do as well is the ATIS said that the QNH is 1008. So what you can do in the altimeter, you can already set your QNH or altimeter setting. You can see it right there. So if I set already 1008, whenever I go out of standard, I will already have the correct QNH prepared. So it's very straightforward and easy to do. So that's something you can do. Some airlines will tell you start descent, just go ahead and get out of standard into this one and put already 1008. But as I have synchronized all of them, they will all turn to 1008. So that's not what I want to do right now. Okay, so we are descending, and we are descending 190. We have a track miles of around 100 miles. We're expecting to land at 406 Zulu, so that's another 20 minutes flight time. We have done our briefing, we have done the descent checklist. We are fully ready to continue this flight. So of course we will try to fly it with LNAV and VNAV all the way down. This is the way you should fly the aircraft. If it's properly set up, you have no issue to fly it all the way down now to the runway using LNAV and VNAV. Here what I will do is, as soon as I come visual on the runway, I will establish myself on the PAPI and I'll go for a manual landing. So we will go as well maybe in the mode to have the birdie. So like in the Airbus, we will use the birdie to have the track. On this aircraft we call it the FPV. So if I go FPV already now, I can see here that my aircraft is going down 3 degrees. The top here of the aircraft symbol, this one, if it's aligned with the horizon, it means I'm going down 3 degrees. And I'm drifting to the left. You can see that if I look at my line here, the aircraft is to the left of it, and this is because of the wind pushing us to the left. So it's telling me that my aircraft is in fact flying on that vectors here. So that's very nice to have if you fly visual approach, or if you are established on an ILS raw data. Just maintain your FPV on the horizon line here, and you will never lose your glide slope. Nice thing to do. Alright, so going down. Oh, what do I have? 19.3. We were clear 19, fly level 1900, that's fine. So we're expecting further descent, hopefully, as we are reaching 1900 very soon. How does it look outside? Just beautiful. Here we are reaching the coast. Wow. It would be nice to fly over there. I never flew to Australia. Look at that. And it's kind of cloudy today. I hope I have the right weather file. I'm supposed to. Yeah, Qantas 1007, so that's fine. Great. Let's see what the passenger... The view from the window is not bad as well. Huh? Excellent. Alright, so let's concentrate here on the arrival. We are reaching 1900. So again, here, if we don't get further clearance, the aircraft will maintain 1900. And as the FMC will sense that we are losing our descent path, it will anticipate that by reducing the speed, in order for you to be able to recover the descent path later on. So that's something you have to keep in mind. If you're not happy with the speed reduction, then you can just increase the speed and go in altitude hold and maintain the speed. So maybe ATC will again give us a late descent here, and I will be able to demonstrate what I meant in a couple of seconds, because we are approaching 1900. So you can see that the profile is perfect now. We are on profile. You can see that as well if you go to the descent page. You can see here everything is correct. We are exactly on profile. Now we are about to maintain 1900, so you will see that we will get high numbers here, and we are in VNAV alt. So now look at what's going to happen. The aircraft will maintain 1900. The path of course goes down because the aircraft wants us to continue descent, and now she's reducing the speed. So if I'm not happy with that, I just go altitude hold and I keep the speed. Now that's my decision. I know that I will be able to recover the descent later on. I don't want the aircraft to reduce the speed. So that's what I do. And now we have to wait for the ATC to give us further descent. So hopefully we will get it very soon, I hope. And then we can again recover that descent path. Easy. We can use level change, we can use vertical speed, but level change will protect you on the speed. And we will catch again the vertical profile right there. So let's hope that we get a descent clearance very soon. On va couper cette partie là. Puis maintenant c'est à Proxy 9 qu'on va avoir le reste. Peut-être raté celui-là en fait.
Qantas 1007 for further contact. Hobart approach frequency 125.55. Bye bye.
Roger, contact Hobart approach 12555, Qantas 1007. Bye bye. 2555. Two five five five. There we go. Approach hello, Qantas 1007, flight level 120, descending to flight level 70, and we have the information, November.
Qantas 1007, approach hello, descend via star 5,500 feet, the QNH is 1008.
Roger, descend via star 5,500 feet on the QNH 1008, Qantas 1007. Okay, so we are descending now 5,500 feet. We are passing transition levels, so we can go back to the QNH 1008. Approaching 10,000 feet. Let's put the lights on. We check the seatbelt sign is on, pressurization is good, and nav setting is not required. So let's continue the descent now. And approaching 10,000 feet, you need to slow down the speed. So let's use a bit of speed brake here to reduce the speed. So right now we are cleared 5,500 feet via the star. So we are in VNAV path. So that's a good thing, because then the aircraft will follow the restriction 5,500 or above, as long as you see VNAV path. So that's good. So this first point is where the aircraft is reducing the speed for the next speed restriction. So that's good. And the decel point that you will have later on is wherever we need to slow down for configuration of the aircraft. So let's see now what's happening with the VNAV. Now she's maintaining the altitude because the speed is not correct. And we are reaching 240. She will start descending to catch up the vertical profile there. So it's good to keep some speed brake in order to catch up and that the speed does not increase too much. Once we are back on profile, we can retract our speed brake. Alright, let's do the approach checklist as we went into the local altimeter setting. So the approach checklist is very straightforward. Altimeter is 1008, set, and set, passing 9,000 feet now, and it's compared. Approach checklist is complete. Alright, so now we will see how this PMDG managed the flight here in the RNP approach with a very nice arc. So we'll see how it works. So let's have a quick look at this beautiful approach with the PMDG. It's quite demanding, so we'll see how she managed. 5,500 feet. So right now we look good. Everything looks good. I can retract the speed brake. Not required anymore as the speed is lower than the target 240, so that's fine. Wow. Kind of cloudy today, so we hope to see the runway at minimum. So let's see that. Turning now toward position Limdu. That's good. $5,500 feet at Limdu. That looks good.
Qantas 1007, you're cleared. FSiPanel Whiskey runway 30.
Roger, Qantas 1007, clear. RNP Whiskey at 30. Okay, so we are clear for the approach. So now we can continue descent toward 3,700 feet. So in the star, we are right there, 5,500 or above. this is no problem. Then we have to go to Bavor, and if we go to Bavor, then we can see that the altitude is 3,700. So what I will set 3,700, and I'm able to do that because I'm flying in VNAV path. So in VNAV path, the aircraft will maintain for sure 5,500 or above here. Of course, I say of course, it's supposed to always check what the aircraft is doing. You are the pilot in command, but in VNAV path, she's not supposed to go below 5,500 feet. All right, you see the decel point there. So this is where the aircraft will start to reduce the speed, because at Bavor, we need to be at 185 knots. So there, she will start to reduce the speed toward up, and we will need to start configuring the aircraft. So let's see that. Now 5,500 feet at Bavor, that's perfect. At Limbrou. So you see she's doing it. She will even reduce the rate of descent to make sure she comply with that restriction. And after that, she will continue the descent in order to pass Bavor at or above 3,700 feet. And we will start
Qantas
to reduce the speed as well.
1007, contact tower, frequency 118.1. Have a safe landing. See you later.
Roger, over to the tower 1081, Qantas 1007. Bye-bye. Tower 118.1. Here we go. Tower, hello, Qantas 1007 with you on the approaching Bavor.
Qantas 1007, latest QNH 1008, and report visual with the runway.
Roger, QNH 1008 will report visual on the runway, Qantas 1007. All right, so now the aircraft wants to reduce the speed, so flaps 1. I use a bit of speed brake. Remember the speed restriction, so we have to be looking at that. 3,700 at Bavor, and then we can continue the descent for the approach. So 2,510 is the platform altitude. So I'll put 2,500 feet to avoid the level off here. And I check that I'm in VNAV. That's very important. Now you can see that she reverted to VNAV speed. So not a problem. We want 185 knots. I'll go level change. 185 knots, and we can go flaps 5. To recover the path, turning the inbound bug, and we want to go back to our profile. Easy. Now, as I'm flying in level change to recover, I don't know really what happened there, so we have to mitigate a little bit. Not an issue. Make sure you don't go below your profile. So whenever you see that you are on the profile, go back to VNAV, and you should have VNAV path. So let's do that now. We're approaching there the correct altitude. So now I will set the minimum here. Let's put 400. And I will revert to VNAV path. Heading is synchronized, perfect. We are turning on final. My profile looks good. Let's try VNAV path and see if it works. VNAV path, perfect.
2,500.
Radio altimeter alive, that's good. The aircraft is turning final, so I'll put the airborne heading 300 now as a reference. Let's go gear down and flaps 15 now. Gear down. Arm speed brake. Flaps 15. Turning final. So we have this platform altitude right there, which is 2,510 mandatory. So we'll check that the aircraft is doing it. Done. And we are turning now on the final. We have a reference that we can check here, the Hotel Bravo 520, we should be at 860. So now we need to look for the runway. So let's go flaps 30. Missed approach altitude is track 300 to straight ahead to Bravo 530 and climb to 4,200. So I will wait until I see the runway there, and then I will set the missed approach 4,200 feet. So let's do the landing checklist. So engine start switches are continuous, speed brake is arm, landing gear is down, and flaps we have 30 green lights. Landing checklist complete. Wow.
1,000.
Checked, 4,200 feet set in case of missed approach. Now where is the runway, guys? I can see in front of me some lights, but that's not the runway, obviously. Here's the runway, perfect. Runway in sight, Qantas 1007.
Qantas 1007,
Okay,
runway
then
30,
take off
no
the
reported
takeoff.
traffic. Report pit of the runway, and the latest wind is
And
280
I'm going to take
at
off,
16
throttle
knots.
off. And flight director off. Roger, will report clear of the runway, Qantas 1007. Okay, so as you see, no landing clearance given.
500.
So now we are flying manually down, following the PAPI. Missed approach altitude is set, landing checklist is completed,
Approaching minimums.
and we are trying now to land this aircraft.
400.
Slightly high, correcting. You don't want the rate of descent of more than 1,000 feet per minute. Check speed,
300.
check. It's a bit bumpy, maintain the PAPI.
200.
Coming down nicely on the profile.
100.
Slight pre-red, correcting. Back on the profile.
50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Touchdown. Speed brake up. Reverse as normal. And I will manual braking. Auto brake is disarmed. "60 knots, checked out of reverse. We will vacate here on Charlie. Here we go, Charlie. Perfect. Okay. Qantas 1007, runway vacated.
Qantas 1007, welcome to Hobart. Taxi stand 4 via Alpha and Foxtrot.
Roger, taxi stand 4 via Alpha and Foxtrot, Qantas 1007. Alright, so let's stop here for a second. I want to see what we are doing here. So we just landed. I forgot the lights, obviously. My bad, guys. So here we'll turn off the lights. We'll keep the taxi lights. We go off with the... No, in fact, this FSiPanel did the after landing flow. Sorry. So that's good. It was... we didn't forget the light. It's simply that FSiPanel has done the after landing when I retracted the flaps. So that's good. It helped me a lot. So I just have to turn off the terrain. Alright, so let's have a look at our taxi route right there. So I will just stop here so we have no issues. So he said... No, that's not the correct airport. Okay, so arrival, yeah. And airports. And here we are. So he said to taxi via Alpha. We are on Alpha, and then Foxtrot first right. And then we should go to stand 4. So that should be straight ahead. Huh? All right. So let's try to see if GS6 can help us here. So I will try to see that. Zero's gate 4. No. Qantas. All right. So let's go ahead, let's see if we can do that. Here I'm using the NZA scenery for Hobart, very nice one. I love it. It looks much better than the Azovo scenery. So yeah, it's only like 18 euro, I think, or 17 euro. Of course, you don't need it to fly the scenario, but yeah, I find it more realistic. Okay, so that should be Foxtrot. The first one to the right. And then stand 4 should be the one right in front of us normally. So yeah, we can see the 4 right there, so that's fine. We go to stand 4, taxi light can go off, yeah. And now where is my marshaller? I don't see any marshaller, and I'm on stand 4. Right, so I think we're gonna park by yourself. Looks like I'm perfectly aligned. Ah, it's there. Oh, my bad. I think I need to go for medical check again. Okay, good. 40 meters to go. Well, I'm lucky this is on record because I never managed to park like this. All right, parking brake is set. So APU on the bus, please. APU is on the bus. Then we can turn off the engines. Fuel off. The engines are spooling down. So here what we'll do is turn off the beacon light. We'll turn off the seatbelt sign. Oh, look at this guy, he's very happy because of the parking, I guess. And then finally what you have to do here is exactly as the same as the before start. We have the APU running, so I'll keep the one pump on for the APU. I make sure that my seatbelt is off. I will depressurize the hydraulic, the electrical pumps, and we are going to give some air to the passengers. So we just need to open the isolation valve. Let me show you that from here. So if I leave the isolation valve to automatic and I turn the APU air on, look what's gonna happen. The APU is going to the left side here, and as this is on open, she will not give the air to the right pack, which is for the passenger. So on ground, always remember to have it open, and now you can see that the two packs are getting some air. Good, so that's what you do, and the last thing to do is to turn off your transponder. And that's it. Now we can read the shutdown checklist. So fuel pumps are off, except one for the APU. Probits are auto. That's done by FSiPanel during the after landing flow. Then hydraulic panel is set. The flaps are up. Parking brake is set for the time being, and the engine starter are cut off, and the weather radar is off on both sides. Shutdown checklist completed. All right, GS6, please deboard the aircraft. That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed that scenario with me today. This is the latest one. It's the Qantas 1007. I flew it on the 737-800. It's a nice scenario, easy one. You just have to fly conservative. Remember, it's RNP AR with an arc, so don't come too fast and be ready to mitigate. You saw that at one stage my VNAV reverted to VNAV speed, so it's not an issue as long as you manage your descent. And that's it. As long as you're back in VNAV path, then you can fly the approach perfectly well. I hope you enjoyed it. Any question and comment, please drop it in the section down below, and please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you next time for another training scenario or another video. Thank you guys, and as always, stay safe. Bye bye.